So, my dear ones, welcome into this great good Sunday, this wonderful day, this 17th of March. And I can see it is indeed the wearing of the green. The rest of us will have to just take our chances with regard to being pinched. Of course, pinching is only an American custom. This does not happen in Ireland. But for those of you who just know, you're forewarned. So on this great day, it's a wonderful day to look at what we're looking at, actually, which is this whole month, have you noticed? It's sneaky, really. But the whole month is about taking a closer look at ourselves, taking a deeper dive into the essential essence of ourselves, and taking a hard look at where we need to take a hard look in our lives, and understand it is the most wonderful opportunity for each and every one of us when we do that, because you'd never know what we might discover, and it could be good and very good. And as I was sharing this morning, the problem seems to be from all of the people I have listened to over the years, groups I've listened to over the years, myself, whom I have hopefully listened to somewhat over the years, I realized that that's not an easy journey that we're asked to take, and it is a journey and it is an adventure. It's to adventure into where we haven't gone before. And it is that inner journey. So the call today, the call this week, is to get in touch with the self in such a way that we're aware of the inner life, the inner goings on in ourselves, and what that is producing in our lives. And so that means you've got to be able to come up to the pool of the life that's called yourself and be ready to jump in. Not easy, because floating on the top of all of that is all kinds of gungy stuff that really doesn't look that pretty, and you don't really want to even dip your toe into. It's not so inviting. However, it's simply the flotsam, the jetsam, and all of that floats on the top of everything. It all comes up. Once you take the plunge and you're unafraid of that, and you jump in and you go down to the light beyond description at the depths of that pool, it's an amazing discovery and an awesome realization. And that's what you and I are called to this week, to be ready to do that, to stop the over-identification with everything in our lives that's not right, that's not going well, that we can't do, that we haven't accomplished, and telling ourselves how we're not there yet, wherever there is. Because there really isn't any there to be. Wherever we are, we're already there. Whatever it is we want to be, we're already that. Now, we hear these and they become cliches after a while, and they go in this ear, and out the window. Oh, sure, yeah, well, how am I going to pay the bills? And so on and so forth, etc. But the thing is, we must stop glibly gliding over these statements of truth in our own regard, and stay buried in the busyment of the embodiment and the outer world with all of its trials and tribulations and vicissitudes and so on. But as the scriptures say, don't worry about all the vicissitudes, because that which is in me is greater than that which is in the world. So there's where we're called to be this coming week, to be with that which is within us, to take an inner look at that and stop all the baloney for once and get over ourselves and all of the ways we've disappointed ourselves and all of the ways other people have disappointed us, and on and on and on, and all of the things that we tell ourselves that have stopped us and blocked us and have kept us back. None of it that has stopped us and blocked us and kept us back is out there. None of it. None of it. There's nothing out there and no one out there to blame for that. And we don't want to be in the blaming game at all. Whatever's happened in my life and whatever those vicissitudes are, I love that, vicissitudes are, it's a great word. You have to have your teeth in straight really to say it well. But anyway, whatever those things are, they're changeable. They can be changed because I have the power over my life. I have the power over my life. I have the control over my life, and nobody else has unless I give it to them or it. Unless I give it to whatever it is out there, or that person or group or whoever it is out there. I can do that. And you and I are very used to abdicating our power. We can do this at the drop of a hat. We're so well versed in that. And so that gives us cause to stay at the level of our problem. It gives us cause to stay moaning and groaning and bellyaching and blaming. Well, that, as you can see, has not served us well. and does not serve us well. So the invitation is today, get into your sovereign self now and start a deeper relationship with yourself, because there's where it all begins and ends. With whatever kind of relationship you have with you, that's the only thing that matters. How are you in relationship with yourself? How are you doing with that? Now, for that to happen, you and I have to recognize I need to give myself a chance here. I need to commit to myself that I am going to grow a deeper relationship with myself. I am going to be present to myself sufficiently so that I can know indeed what exactly my needs are, and that I can commit to taking care of them, and that I will be the best friend that I can be to myself, and I will become my own champion. I will become my own director of my life. And then, and only then, will I discover the awesome empowerment that is mine. Then and only then will I know what true omniscience is. Then and only then will I appreciate who I am so that I can honor myself. I can respect myself. I can love myself, standing tall, standing straight, and knowing it is good, and it is very good to do so. And that's all I have to do to live an amazing, spiritually successful life. That's all I have to do, because when I can learn to do that here, I'm going to love you, I'm going to respect you, I'm going to honor you, I'm going to recognize you. Because I will see you as the self of myself. I will see you as part and parcel of my life and living. I will cherish you as I have come to cherish the great self of myself. That's all that has to happen. That's redemption. That's resurrection. That's how it happens. How do we get there? Well, we are told that the only way to get to there, so that you and I can take time out to give ourselves and honor ourselves in that way, is by truly, there's no getting away from it, practicing the presence, practicing the presence, practicing the presence of that which is greater than I am, recognizing the presence that is greater than I am. So in order for me to heal, in order for this world to heal, all that has to happen is that I practice the presence. I practice the presence all the time, every day, every conscious moment that I'm aware of it. I said now, every conscious moment that I'm aware of it, because we fall asleep a lot throughout the day. But as soon as I wake up, I have to realize, no, I'm more than this, and I have more going for me than this. And what I have available to me is all that I need in order to move through this, whatever it is, or in order to succeed and achieve at this, whatever it is, or in order for me to mend, fix, the heal, whatever it is I need to mend, fix, the heal. That's what has to happen. But I have to be strong in the relationship with myself. I have to cut out now all the excuses as to why I can take care of every Tom, Dick, Sheila, Mary, Harry, and everything that crosses my path, but I've no time for me, you see. And that doesn't work. That does not work. That really is diversion. That really is postponement. That really is excuses for not doing what my primary thing to do is to know myself, to honor myself, to love myself, and to realize myself. That's all. That's what self-actualization is, and self-realization is. To practice the presence, and to practice the presence is to be in the presence. To know that I'm in the presence, and the presence is always in me no matter what. And in my darkest moment, in my most horrible, awful, deedful, dastardly thing that I have done, I'm still in the presence, and the presence is glowing brilliantly in me, not diminished in the least. I just have fallen asleep to that, and I've ignored it. I don't know about it. I'm ignorant to it. But I can come back into my own. I certainly can. That's what the story of the prodigal son is all about. How could you come back from all that that young man came back from under those circumstances he had placed himself in? And yet he did. And the famous word, and the word that gets the God bumps dancing on my body, are those words when I heard it said, he came to himself. He came to himself. He came to himself. He recognized himself. He realized himself to be the Son of the Father, that he was the Son of the Father of. And he knew he could get up then out of the debris of the life that he had made for himself and go back unto his Father and be received and be received. And it was better than even he thought it would be. He was willing to go back and be a servant in his Father's house. But we are told, but the Father waited, and the Father waited, and the Father waited, and he saw his Son afar off, and he ran to the Son, and he embraced the Son, and he rejoiced in the Son's return. And he said, my son who is dead is alive. Go, get the party ready, kill the fatted calf, bring the finest robes, and put the rings on his fingers, put the sandals on his shoes. My son who is dead is alive now. We will celebrate this. That's what happened. And this man could not have been more obnoxious, to say the very least, with regard to the squandering of his inheritance and to the great disappointment and sadness of the family and his father. And yet, because he came to himself, he didn't have to do anything. He didn't have to make up for it. He didn't have to pay the price. It wasn't demanded that he start from the bottom and work himself way back into the family again. No, immediately he was reinstated, even at a more wondrous level of status in the family. Now, we'll get into the other brother another time. But for now, it's all about the lad who came to his senses, took a grip on himself, and got his wits about him, and realized, this is my own doing. This is my own doing. I don't have to live like this anymore. I can go back home. I can go back to my Father. And I can be better than this, because I am more than this. And that's what you and I have to do, but it's never going to happen until we take time out to be in our own company. Do you understand it? Do I understand that? I don't care how busy I am or you are, I have to take time out to be in my own company, like it or lump it. Whether that seems to be the least thing on my list of things to do today or to have happen today, I ought to be up there number one, numero uno on that list. Time for self. Time for self-growth and development. Time for self-recognition and remembrance. Time for self. And nobody's going to give that to you except you. Because as Mother Teresa says, people are very, very hungry and they'll gobble you up to the last crumb of bread. They will gobble up to the last crumb of bread. Whatever you have to give them, they'll take it and want more. And so you have to take care of you and feed your own spirit and feed your own soul and feed your own life with that lifefulness. And the thing is, are you going to be ready to do this? And if not, now when? Because, again, somebody said recently, I don't know whether I read it or heard it or whatever, life is very short, and after today it'll even be shorter, so you better learn how to dance now. Life is very short, and after today it'll even be shorter. Especially those of you who are trying to do a jig, I can tell you that. But anyway, what is it about us that don't get the fleetingness of this mortal life on three-dimensional planet Earth? It's not happening for us, my dear ones, if it's not happening today. You and I can only change today. Otherwise, we're not changing. Believe you me, it's going to be the same old every day. If today you and I don't take those steps, don't take those first steps of movement into that which we so desire. And what is it we so desire when all is said and done? I mean, come on, since time began, groups of people have withdrawn from the outer world so that they could contemplate the presence of God and be in an environment where they could do that constantly throughout the day. In the convent, the bell rang on the hour, every hour, and you paused for a moment and you said, now I remember that I'm in the presence of God. And then you just went on with your whatever you were doing. But on the hour, every hour, now I remember I'm in the presence of God. But that has to be not just a sweet little affirmation I make, or not just such a nice little feeling I have in the chapel or in my meditation chair or whatever. I have to pause in front of the lunatic in front of me and say, now I remember I'm in the presence of God. I have to do that if I want to truly get it. And if I do that, I won't have ulcerated stomachs, and I won't have headaches, and I won't have all the other stuff that goes with that kind of inflammation of mind, body, heart, and soul. It's just going to be very, very different. But that's how it's done. There's no other way. There is no other easy way. There's no other door to get into it. You have to go straight through yourself. Oh, God help us all. And I mean, really and truly, it has to be doable, or we wouldn't be told we could. It has to be doable. It has to be doable. Let us remember that we are in the presence of God. I remember now that I'm in the presence of God every hour on the hour. But then you have to ask yourself, well, really, am I? Am I in the presence of God? Is Moira this moment in the presence of God? Or where in the name of God have you been if you're not in the presence of God right now? Where have you been? So whatever that looks like, we'll handle it in the moment. But we have to take our temperature and see where we are throughout the day, where we are in our mind, where we are in our emotion, because where we are in our mind and emotion affects every single thing else, what we're doing and how we're doing it, what we're not doing and what we could be doing, and so on and so forth. So the thing is, so you're going to take on the reins of yourself, because you're like a wild horse, and so am I. And it's very hard to tether a wild horse, really is, and rein them in. And we don't want to do that, and we don't have to do that, but in the beginning we might need a bridle for a while. You know, we just might need that bit there to caution us and make us careful with the way we use our mouths, etc. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing that you and I have choices, because we live in choice. We live from choice. Our life is the result of our choices, whatever those choices are. So, more of the same old, or something new and something different. Whatever it's going to be, it's up to you and it's up to me. I mean, this is a phenomenal day, really. It's a powerful, potent day, this day of St. Patrick. And it's not all about wearing green, and it's not all about turning your beer green. And no decent Irish man would drink green beer anyway, or Irish woman for that matter. But anyway, that's again an American thing. And so we're very low-key when it comes to St. Patrick's Day in Ireland, but we're very proud of the wearing of the green, that's for sure. Because once upon a time, they hanged people for wearing the green. You were hanged for it at that time when people were fighting for their freedom and to form a republic and so on. And so for the Irish themselves, it's a whole different experience celebrating. It may seem to be a frivolous and frolicking day, but below that there's a strong and potent and powerful history. And so it's built on suffering, and it's built on that type of tyranny that nobody ever wants to experience. When you had children with their little tally sticks put around their necks, and for every word of Irish they spoke, a notch was put in it, and then they were beaten at the end of the day for each notch. I mean, this is what we're talking about. So it's a long and hard struggle, over 700 years of it before, but you couldn't stop them. You couldn't stop them from wearing the green. You couldn't stop them from speaking the language. You couldn't stop them. And the reason why Irish dancing is danced like this is because they were forbidden anything cultural as far as the Celtic culture was concerned. So behind the hedgerows, all they could see was the heads moving, but they couldn't see all that was going on in the feet, you see, because that was verboten and so forth. But they're clever little tricksters. They always got around doing what they wanted to do, and in the end, of course, it all worked out, and now we're all great pals and friends and so on and so forth. And that's the way it ought to be. But this is a strong and potent day because it stands on liberation, it stands on freedom, and it stands on the sacrifice that you have to make for that to happen. Now, you and I have to sacrifice to really and truly come into our own. We have to sacrifice the same old way of thinking and the same old way of feeling and the same old way of doing. It's not getting us anywhere except going around in circles. And I tell you, the longer you go around in that circle, the dizzier you get. And the dizzier you get, the more frustrated you get. And you see, that's a big stoppage, that's a big blockage. And that's not where we want to be right now in our lives, is it? Because the world so depends on us right now. It always has, but it's acute at this time. And so that you and I can see this powerful, potent nation come into its own like the prodigal. And we all are prodigal to some degree or another. And not only this country, but all the countries that are going through hard times now. And not just the people who are in terrible under regimes and suffering, but even those who have the freedoms and still intelligence is not showing up, or so it might seem, generally speaking, all over. I believe it has to happen because, you know, the flotsam and jetsam always has to rise to the top for it to be skimmed off. And it's transitional times, that's all. It's just transitional times. We'll get through it, we always do. But you and I need to be strong in loving up on this country and everybody in it. I mean, it's the same for in Ireland, it's the red, white, and the orange. You see, people think, well, I could wear orange on St. Patrick's Day. No, don't do that. That's not a good idea. Not in Ireland, it's not. The Orange Day is in July, and then that's when the Orange folks celebrate their day. But on St. Patrick's Day, you wear green, because the green is the first part of the flag, white is the middle of the flag, the orange is the last part of the flag, and it's the white in the middle that signifies peace that will come through the orange and the green being able to be in friendship with each other. And that's the way that works. The green is for the Catholic Irish, and the orange is for the Protestant northern people, originally who were Scottish planters. And so you see, that's where that comes in. Now, that's the theory behind it. As far as I'm concerned, you wear whatever kind of colour you want to on any day, but that's the history behind it. But again, even in the beginning, when there was still that terrible bitterness between the two sides, they had enough sense to create a flag whereby they knew that peace must come and they must conjoin together to create a friendship that would work for everybody. And so today of all days is a very good day for you and for me to commit to taking greater care of ourselves, and it really boils down to self-care. The spiritual life is the life we're all living. We're living in a spiritual universe, and we're having a spiritual life, whether we've recognized it or not, because we're spiritual beings. So we have to marry the human and the divine in a way that works for everyone, in a way that works for everyone. So that's our challenge in the coming days, and that's the challenge that has been presented to us in this month. You're either going to believe this once and for all or not, or how long is it going to take us to believe that one day we're going to get there? There is no one day, it's today. Get there today or don't get there at all. That's the way life works. So yes, we may have issues in our life, we may have challenges in our life, there may be things for us to sort out in our lives, we'll all agree with that, but that doesn't mean we cannot do it. But we're going to do that quicker and more successfully when we recognize that right where I am, I'm in a divine presence, and that divine presence is in me. Regardless of how I'm feeling, regardless of what's going on in my life, I'm in a divine presence. That divine presence is in me. It is all power, and I can draw from the all power, and I can use that all power to help me through anything. I can go through hell and back once I know I'm in the presence, and the presence is in me, and I can come through that absolutely the victor and absolutely sovereign and the better for it all. The question is, will we? Yes. 10 of us, maybe? It's a start. The question is, will you?
Yes.
Will you?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
How much will you come through this? And so it is.